Let me invite Piotr Sobolewski, who will manage the first presentation.
Thank you. Hi, guys. All right. Let's try to change the view. So the whole idea of the hackathon is to build something quickly, and therefore the idea for the presentation, using LLMs or AI to speed up your work as a developer is something that is just emerging. It's quite a new direction. And therefore, together with Kraux, we've decided that it's quite a unique idea to have a couple of AI experts roaming around the hackathon and helping teams with AI topics. So together with Karol and Maciej, we'll be present here and open for all of your questions. My name is Piotr Sobolewski. I've had quite a lot of my life connected with Wrocław University of Science and Technology. My parents met here. I met my wife here. And yeah, since I started my studies 20 years ago, and since then I'm here, basically all the time. I finished my PhD in artificial intelligence in 2016, but my main, let's say, goal commercially was making video games. I started a video gaming company in 2015, and I've been a CEO for 7 years. I've scaled the company from 5 to 120 people. So it was quite an achievement. And since 2 years, I'm focusing solely on AI. I'm an AI consultant for various companies, and I'm happy to consult here for you as well. WIT+AI means that we are from the IT faculty. WIT is the short of the Wydział Informatyki I Telekomunikacji, which is the largest faculty, as the prorector yesterday said. So, yeah. It's a fresh new students' union. We are just starting. We've been registered, I think, a couple of days ago, officially only. So, yeah. So, by AI, I mean LLMs here in this presentation. Basically, AI is a field that is a lot wider than LLMs, obviously. But for the sake of this, this presentation, let's assume that AI is an LLM. And I'm going to be using my tissues quite a lot because I had a surgery for my nose. And there is a drip in my throat, sorry about it. It's not that I'm sick or something, it's a feature, not a bug. Moving on, the LLM, what is an LLM? LLM basically is, anyone knows what is an LLM? Yes? Very well, it's a large language model. So it's basically a model that is processing language. And I'm going to give you a glimpse of how it works, because many people don't really understand how this all ChatGPT things work, and just to make sure that we are all in sync with that, to understand better what are the options in this area. So the big breakthrough happened with Generative Pre-trained Transformer, or GPT for short, and that's how the ChatGPT also began. So this all Generative Pre-trained Transformer, what it does, it basically predicts the next word in the sentence. So it sounds like something that doesn't have too much applications from the first view, but as we all know, it does a lot. So how does it do it actually? So basically, we divide the whole sentence into words that next are given numeric vectors, and these vectors are then called, it's created based on something called the embedding matrix. So basically, like, LLM is a huge matrix of numbers that consists of various weights, and these produce the embeddings for each of the words, or I would rather say tokens, because in our vocabulary we have letters, we have words. The LLM is using tokens. And these tokens, basically, it knows about 50,000 tokens. This is the vocabulary of the LLM. And from these 50,000 so-called words, it selects the next one. So, for example here, to find out what's the next word, we use the unembedding matrix together with softmax algorithm. I'm not going to get too much into the detail. It's just that we are using some code to, on top of these numbers, to come up with the word Snape, for example here, that is the next word in the sentence. So there are a couple of providers that are major in this field. I just mentioned 4 here, but if you look at the landscape right now, it's a lot larger. So obviously OpenAI's GPT is the frontier. I had a pleasure to work for OpenAI this year for 6 months, and I've learned quite a bit of how they work internally. And to my surprise, I can't say too much because it was, I think, the largest NDA I've seen in my life. And therefore, I will be very careful with my words now. I just can say that I worked with them and on something that is not released. And they also don't know how it works exactly. So it's funny because we've been scaling these neural networks a lot. And at some point, they started to converge into something that makes sense. And at this moment, we lost the track of understanding what's going on. And that was the ChatGPT moment. And to my surprise, even today, I finished the project, I think in around July or August. So it was just a couple of months ago. And working with them internally, they still don't understand this. This convergence is the mystery in this black box, but you have to understand that all of these models don't need access to internet. It's the best compression algorithm humanity has come up with up to date. Because, for example, GPT-4 can fit on a 2 terabytes hard drive, which you can fit in your laptop, and you don't need internet to use it, and it contains all the knowledge of humanity. I mean, who came up with a better compression algorithm? So all that this GPT does is basically you can write a GPT-3 in 1,000 lines of code. That's all there is. 1,000 lines of code, 1 C file, and a large matrix of numbers. That's it. That's the whole LLM. There isn't like a huge project with multiple functions, classes that are collaborating. It's 1 C file and 1 matrix file with data with weights. And these weights are very thoroughly guarded because to come up with these weights, companies are spending hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is the secret sauce, these weights, not the C code. This is something anyone can write. I've even seen a project, I think it's called Micro GPT. Someone coded it in 100 lines in Python. It's even possible using NumPy and other libraries. So all you need are these weights. So Meta is interesting, Llama, because they came up with, like, okay, we can't catch up with OpenAI. We probably won't catch up with Google. Let's destroy their business. And let's come up with something that disrupts. They decided to disrupt the industry, and they released the weights. They have spent also hundreds of millions of dollars on training their models, but they said, okay, you know, guys, have it for free. You can install it locally. You don't need API access. And this local approach is the key here. If you're coding or if you're using LLMs for anything that requires access to some fragile data, you should probably be using a local model. And that's amazing that you can actually run these on consumer machines. For example, 70B model requires, I think, 2 4090 or even 3090 graphic cards. Okay, so Claude is by Anthropic, GPT is by OpenAI, Gemini is by Google, Llama is by Meta, and there are a lot of others that you can choose from for your projects. So that's how the ChatGPT interface looks like. Obviously, we all know it, and that's how it all started. We've been when I started using it 2 years ago for development, I used to type in the prompt here together with some code snippet and ask, for example, do me a review of this code or find a bug in this code or make it more cleaner or write a unit test for this code, or extend this code by this functionality. And it would come up with some code, I would check it, something wouldn't work, I would copy paste it here again, and that's how I was working. Later, I found out that Anthropic's new model, which is called Claude 3.5 Sonnet, is better than GPT-4 actually in coding, and I started using this interface. It's basically the Anthropic dashboard console, where on the left you input prompt, on the right it outputs, and I was working like that. But the industry came a bit farther. We all use VSC probably, I guess, here on Hackathon. Visual Studio Code is the most popular IDE for programmers. And I've researched, because it's turned out that they started to kind of like make wrappers around these interfaces and put them directly into VSC. So you don't have to even alt-tab from there. They even have some key shortcuts that allow you for even faster iterations on your code. And I've checked a lot of various plugins, and here I wanted to give you the sweet sauce of this. 4 top plugins that I found are really worth checking out. It's these 4. It's Cody.ai, my personal favorite. Cody was my first plugin that I started using after using directly ChatGPT, because that's actually something that streamlines this process. You have this chat interface on your right-hand side. You can use a key shortcut on a selected part of your code and ask a question about this part of code, etc. It's really nice. Then Continue Cloud Dev are a bit newer ones, but they do a lot of work for you. Like, they code for you, they create files for you, they make commits for you, so you can revert back from their work. And Either is something that for anyone who likes the CLI type of tools. Either is not that much graphical interface, but it works in your console. And you tell it, for example, okay, code me that. And it suggests code changes, it even makes them. You can see them by standard view of changes, of code changes, and you can approve them or not. These 4 I highly recommend, and for anyone who wants to speed up the development process. And really, for a PoC, you just write one prompt, code me that, and it actually codes you that. And depending on the severity of the problem, how difficult it is, in some case, in my case, in majority of cases, it does it 0 shot, so first try. Yeah, so my favorite is Cody, and Cody looks like that. I'm sorry that this isn't as clear, but what it does here is basically you select the code, you ask it to explain, and it basically explains exactly what the code does. And there are some other options. You can edit the code, you can document the code, you can generate unit tests, find code smells, etc. So very handy, very handy. You don't have to alt-tab, you can stay in your code base and work on it. 2 days ago, I don't have a slide for that, but GPT released, and OpenAI released GPT Canvas, which is a new way of working with ChatGPT, where basically in the canvas, you see your code all the time. It doesn't scroll, you see the code all the time, and you're asking questions about this code or asking it to make changes on this code, and it comments the code, talks about the code in a very nice, user-friendly UI. So I wanted to show you that, but I'm using not my computer. So it's even maybe better because I will have a chance to talk with every one of you who's interested and just show it face to face. It will be more individual if someone wants to see that in action. Because I got the pro version from OpenAI for free. For helping them. Okay, so the last thing is, and this is an amazing thing, it's called Websim. It's quite an old page, Websim AI. I don't even know how many years ago, but they started with an idea, let's create our own internet. And they have pages stored and hosted on Websim. But when LLMs started, this website is actually mind-blowing what you can make with just a prompt up there. And if the time allows, I'm not sure what's the time. Let me check. Yeah, it's probably after time, but maybe I can show you its Websim AI. So basically, you see that, and on top, you see what would you like to create today. Oh, I won't do it because I need. Okay, sorry. I can't do it on this laptop because I need a Google account. I highly recommend you go to Websim.ai and write something like create me, I don't know, a floor planner where I can create floor plans and see dimensions, etc., etc. It uses the newest GPT model o1 preview, which is very efficient because it has this kind of chain of thought implemented inside. So it asks itself internally first before telling you the answer. And therefore the final answer is a lot more refined. And with this, you can actually create with one prompt, for example, Excel. Someone wrote, write me a spreadsheet app that does all that Excel does with formulas, etc. There you go. And you can download all the code. You have it totally for free. I mean, this is like, when I was playing with it, I couldn't believe my eyes. It's like front-end developer for free in 3 seconds for anything you want. I mean, this is. I mean, I was just mind blown by that, and no, not many people are talking about it. So, as my time run out, I do have still maybe a couple of minutes for questions and answer session. Go ahead. Any questions? Yes, please. Okay, it doesn't work, but I know the question. So you're asking whether the assistant, the AI assistant, sees all the files in my project and the project structure, not
Yes.
just a single file.
That if it can see and if it can also edit both, like many files, for example.
Yes, yes, you do. Because in the prompt there, you can add all the files you want to the prompt, and depending on the all of these 4 have this access. Depending on the one that you're using, they're using the project scope view. So, for example, continue, when you ask it a question, okay, I need a class for calculating the area of the wall in the room. And it first analyzes your project structure, and it asks you, okay, can I read this file? You type yes. Okay, can I read this file? Yes. Okay, maybe this file again, as well? Okay, I've read these files, and I understand that you want to implement that. You need to make this change in this file. Do you want me to make this change for you? Yes. I mean, this is how you develop these days. You press yes
a lot of
many times. So yeah, it's pretty scary. I mean, it's no longer just a code snippet. It's a whole project view with all the context. So that's why I'm even doing this presentation. I'm not trying to sell you something that doesn't work. I just want to streamline and speed up the process, yeah? And for me, it just works great. I've been developing for the last 2 years the PoCs for companies from various industries, like, for example, a lot for insurance company here in Wroclaw one. And pretty much one weekend, and I have a PoC ready. That's like, never before was this possible, really. Like, it's like a 3rd or 4th arm, really. It does it for you, and in the meantime, you do something else. It's like, a lot of developers are super skeptical about it because it didn't work for them, 0 shot for some case some time ago. But it's either the prompt or the wrong tool that you've been using. Maybe not enough context.
And did you ever notice it like reaching a dead end? Like it's running in circles, doing a solution
Yes,
that you don't really like? And
yes.
what do you then? What do you do then?
We've lost the audio. Oh, we have the audio. Basically, you go more narrow because still the biggest limitation is the context view, the context window. Even though some of the models are marketing that they have 1 million tokens, which is like, you know, couple of hundreds of pages in one prompt, but that's not really true. Like there is this test, needle in a haystack. So with that much of a text, it makes a lot of mistakes. What they've learned is that the prompt is analyzed and understood by the LLM with putting the priority on the top, on the beginning of the prompt and on the end of the prompt. Like what's in the beginning of the prompt is given the most weight, and what's in the end of the prompt is given the most weight. It's like a bell-shaped kind of focus. So all that's inside is sometimes lost. The bigger the prompt, the more risk that you will not get what you want. So I would say give it a more specific task to do. Like with these plugins, you can select the specific code you want to modify. So you still need to think as a developer. You are not going to be replaced by AI yet. Sorry for this word, yet, but I don't know. Nevertheless, I think that just being more narrow and more focused will solve your problem.
Can you explain the strawberry problem?
Come again?
Strawberry, you know, I think there was like a problem in social media that I saw that if you ask ChatGPT or another AI model how many R's in a strawberry, it will tell you 2. And there was like a specific reason, but I never understood it.
Yeah, or for example, tell me how many words does your answer consist of? And it tells you the answer, giving you also the number of words. It wasn't possible until they released the O1 preview that I've also been working on a bit. But this is because it includes the chain of thought. So O1 preview is the model that GPT-O1 is basically O1, not 01, O1. It's a model that does the chain of thought before giving you the answer. So it creates an answer internally, then it reviews the answer internally, then it iterates over it a couple of times, and then it gives you the answer. So it can actually count the R's in strawberry, and it can actually count the words in this answer. So my answer consists of 9 words. My answer consists of 6 words in this case. But so the models are getting better at this, because previously it was just it was impossible for them to come up with that, because it was just, you know, analyzing the next word, not looking back.
I have a slightly different question. As a software developer, I'm not skeptical at all about all this LLM stuff. But one thing bothers me still. So I work with different models, with ChatGPT, even with this O1 preview. And I ask to code something, and they provide me some tests, and it prints, it looks like a report of the execution. And it's really wrong. I mean, the result which it produces when I put to my terminal and execute gives different results. So it still doesn't execute this code. It just, you know, pretend, or I'm wondering how it works. Is it really play with your code and actually is able to prove this is working, or it still predicts the next words and by that produce the
So this
output?
execution, you mean when it tells you what it's doing, like thinking, executing code, etc., yeah?
Yeah, and then it's like stack trace and like, you know, result of the code execution. It is printed in as a snippets, and below you have a result of what is on the console, for instance. What's the console output? Yeah, and
It's a very specific problem. I would love to talk to you in a moment individually on that, and maybe let's tackle this together.
Yeah, but at the end is the question, is this really execute the code which it produce, or it just pretend it does?
It depends on the tool. Like, for example, Claude does, and you can see it because if you go to CLAUDE.ai, Claude.ai, so it's kind of like ChatGPT by Anthropic. They have this project view, and they have this, they call it artifacts. So it just not only writes the code, but it renders it on the chat. So you can see, like, it's a web app, you will see the web app rendered. So it does execute the code. I mean, there is no other option because it renders it. So for example, Claude AI does it. So I would need to go deeper into what tools we've been using and what was the actual, but this I recommend, Claude AI, because you see exactly the output. Like, you prompt it, you don't not only get a code, you only get an output of the code. So it builds it. I mean, this is like super cool. And also these plugins come with free trials. That's why I also mentioned them, because you don't have to pay anything up front to test them. Which is quite important if you're just starting to play around with it.
Hi, so I have a question related to frameworks that, for example, if I use XeoKit, it might give me some results, but sometimes it's guessing methods that don't exist. So I'd be interested to hear like how often is the training data kind of refreshed. Let's say XeoKit publishes a new version. When can I expect these AI models to know it?
You never know how much, whether it will make it to the training set.
Yeah.
Even if you know that the cutoff was 1 month ago, you don't know if the XeoKit documentation made it there. Therefore, these plugins for VSC also have an option to include in the prompt the documentation. So you can include any URL link.
So you can kind of fine-tune the model with this?
No, fine-tuning the model is something different. Fine-tuning is changing the weights, so it talks differently. So fine-tuning, if you want it, is good if you want to train the model to speak your language, so to say. I know there was some research that the model started using some animal sounds and started communicating with some animal. I mean, they kind of like used the voices produced by some bird, I think, but it's a different topic. Nevertheless, the whole idea of fine-tuning is to speak a different type of language. So if you have a lot of specific names in your documentation, your company, you're using some phrases or something, and you want the model to use them all the time, then you use fine-tuning. But if you want to be more specific and just understand how something works, then you equip it with some kind of, it's called like retrieval augmented generation. It's called RAG, which is basically like a database that you attach to a prompt, and this database scans itself, looks for parts that are similar to what you're asking for, and adds them to the prompt, and this all gets sent to the model. So the model gets not only your prompt, but also the context from the database. So it doesn't require any fine-tuning. All the data is from your internal data set. It can be super large even, and it just increases the prompt.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you and happy coding. Thank you, everyone.